Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy President. I also rise to contribute to the tabling of this report, Partnering for the Greater Good. Like Senator Gallagher, I also participated on this inquiry, and I would like to provide the Senate with my views on some of the recommendations and the way forward. As Senator Gallagher has said, there were some 37 useful recommendations that us as a committee provided in this report after a long, lengthy inquiry process with a number of submitters, a number of hearings that we heard from various organisations, businesses, government bodies and the like. The report does find that for aid to be effectively encouraged, though, from the private sector to assist economic growth and development, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade should establish an effective private sector and philanthropic communication and engagement unit. So it is my hope that the government really consider that recommendation and actually consider the Department of Foreign Affairs establishing such a unit, because the idea of that is to provide an actual clear pathway for potential partners and Australia's overseas diplomatic missions, in fact, to more effectively, at the local level, identify those opportunities and support more small business, encourage partnerships, all at in the Indo-Pacific region, but at that local level. And if you think about who some of those small business partners might be, I would imagine that a lot of them would be run by women. So I think there's a real opportunity here for the government to look at that recommendation about DFAT establishing this philanthropic communication engagement unit, because I do think that there is a real opportunity here for Australia to play a more crucial role in supporting the rights of women in the Indo-Pacific region. And in fact, we provide an entire chapter on that issue, in Chapter 4, where we talk very detailed, in a detailed way about women empowered through a thriving private sector. And there are a number of recommendations in that area. Just as the report also recommends to the Australian government that it should directly invest in innovation technology across the region to participate in and support joint ventures between private and public sectors wherever possible to use that technology transfer, and local contractors are engaged. But, Madam Acting Deputy President, I do want to highlight, even though I do commend the recommendations in this report, it was a joint Foreign Affairs and Trade subcommittee, the Foreign Affairs and Aid subcommittee, that has provided decent recommendations here for government to take up. Unfortunately, I do have to highlight that this is all through the backdrop of the fact that we have had an incredible cut to our foreign aid budget. Now, I don't want to see this report regarded by a government in any way, shape or form as an opportunity for them to relinquish from their own responsibilities as a government to provide for foreign aid and for aid and development in the foreign affairs portfolio. So whilst, yes, the private sector do and can play an ongoing role in providing aid and development in the Indo-Pacific region, and we provide a number of recommendations of how that can occur, it should never do so in a sense to replace the role of government in its own aid and development program. So that is the caveat that I put in support of this report, that this government actually lifts up its socks and starts doing what it should do as a strong democratic country in the region to provide for the aid and development of the Indo-Pacific. Because unfortunately, Madam Acting Deputy President, that is not occurring at the moment, because we know the government has confiscated some $11 billion from Australia's aid budget, the biggest cut this government has made on record thus far. And if we compare that to the United Kingdom, where the new High Commissioner to the UK recently addressed this very committee, we know very clearly that the UK has passed a law in March enshrining its commitment to spend 0.7% of its gross national income on aid every year, making it the first G7 country to meet the UN's 45-year-old aid spending target. Despite the global financial crisis, it has continued. The UK has continued to provide its aid and development funding in the world. So at the same time, the Australian Prime Minister describes our aid cuts as, and I quote, modest, Australia is being in a significantly better economic position as well as the UK. We are cutting our aid budget by some $11 billion. And what that means is Australia has an income per person more than 50% higher than the UK, and Australia has only 20% of the level of government debt than the UK, yet it provides only 1/5 of the level of aid. So that just really says a lot about this Abbott government's commitment to the Indo-Pacific region. So whilst I commend the report to the Senate in relation to the role of the private sector in aid and development, I condemn this government in its relinquishing of its responsibilities in the aid and development budget to the Indo-Pacific region. I hope it lifts its game and starts to live up to a better reputation that it currently has. Thank you.